This week has seen the death toll in Mozambique rise to over 700 cases as the first cases of cholera are reported, with Uganda sending about $200,000 as financial aid to storm victims. Plus, in Kenya, Brother Peter Tabichi has won the Varkey Global Foundation Teacher Prize, which is worth $1 million, beating 9 other worthy contenders. This is Africa Focus. Here's a peek of stories set for today.
Measles in Madagascar. Country grapples with increased cases of the contagious disease. Free to fish. Senegalese fishermen can now fish in Mauritanian waters.
I'm Lenny Rashid, and our sign language interpreter today is Monica Mwangi. Before we get into the main stories, let's take a look at the news that made the headlines around the continent.
Ethiopian Airline Chief Executive Officer Tewolde Gabriel-Mariam said on Monday that he expected the preliminary release of the report into the March 10th crash of its Boeing 737-800 MAX maybe this week or next week. Tewolde said the airline may or may not attend the briefing in the United States by Boeing about a planned update of the software that is focus of the investigation in 2 deadly crashes that have prompted worldwide groundings of the 737 MAX. Boeing has come under intense scrutiny since the crash, the second in 5 months, involving its new 737 MAX 8 model. But Tewolde said the airline's relationship with Boeing was sound. Tewolde said he supported the decision to hold flights of the plane. The airline's aviation academy annually trains more than 2,000 pilots, flight attendants, maintenance workers, and other employees for Ethiopian Airlines and other African carriers. Duduzane Zuma, son of South Africa's former President Jacob Zuma, has pleaded not guilty to manslaughter over a fatal late-night car crash in 2014. He went on trial at the Randburg Magistrates Court in Johannesburg, accused of causing the death of Pumzile Dube after his Porsche hit a minibus she was traveling in. 3 others were injured and 1 passenger, Nankie Mashaba, died in hospital weeks later. Prosecutors withdrew a manslaughter charge known as culpable homicide in South Africa related to Mashaba's death. In a separate case, Zuma, aged in his mid-30s, faces corruption charges over allegation of a bribe offered to former Deputy Minister of Finance, Msebisi Jonas. Former President Jacob Zuma was forced to resign in February 2018 over allegation of centering around the Gupta business family, who reportedly held such a way that they picked cabinet ministers. Comoros President Azali Assoumani was re-elected Tuesday by a landslide, according to results published by the Electoral Commission in a divisive poll that has sparked tension and opposition accusations of fraud in the Indian Ocean archipelago. Azali, who first took office in 2016, was credited with 60.77% of the vote following Sunday's election, far ahead of his closest rival, Mohamedou Ahmada, who garnered only 14.62% results showed. The 66-year-old president had been tipped to return to power in the island nation of 800,000 people, which is one of the world's poorest and most unstable states. Counting was marred by tensions, with authorities violently breaking up an opposition protest on Monday. Some 300,000 voters were eligible to vote the Indian Ocean archipelago, which has a 2-round system for electing the president. Azali's campaign director, Humed Musaidie, described opposition claims of election fraud as pathetic, accusing them of creating a climate of panic to invalidate the electoral process. Mali's government on Sunday announced the sacking of senior military officers and the dissolution of an ethnic militia a day after the massacre of more than 130 Fulani villages, including women and children. Prime Minister Sumeilu Bubeye Maiga said new military chiefs would be named and that the Dan Nan Ambasagu Association, composed of Dogon hunters, had been dissolved. Survivors of Saturday's attack and the ethnic Dogon hunters carried out the deadly raid attack in Ogusagu, a village in central Mali inhabited by the Fulani community. While local attacks are fueled by accusations of Fulani herders grazing cattle on Dogon land and disputes over access to land and water, the area is also troubled by jihadist influence. The massacre took place as a delegation from the UN Security Council visited the Sahel region to assess the jihadist threat. A math and physics teacher from a secondary school in a remote village in Kenya's Rift Valley has won $1 million Global Teacher Prize for 2019, organizers have said. Peter Tabichi, who organizers say gives away 80% of his monthly income to the poor, received the prize at a ceremony on Saturday in Dubai, hosted by Hollywood star Hugh Jackman. The Dubai-based Vaki Foundation, which organizes the events and handed out the prize for the 5th time, praised Tabichi's dedication, hard work and passionate belief in his students' talent. 36-year-old Tabichi teaches at the Keriko Mixed Day Secondary School in Pwani Village, in a remote, semi-arid part of the Kenya's Rift Valley where drought and famine are frequent. Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta congratulated Tabichi in a video message, saying, "Your story is the story of Africa, a young continent bursting with talent."
According to the World Health Organization, 79,000 cases of measles were recorded in Madagascar between September and February. Widespread malnutrition and low rates of immunization has meant that in the last 6 months, nearly 1,000 children have been killed by the disease that vaccination once appeared to have tamed. However, newly elected President Andry Rajoelina has promised to vaccinate all children aged between 6 months and 9 years.
Robertine has had to walk for 5 hours to get to this health centre, carrying her sick daughter on her back the whole way. As they were travelling, the spots started to spread, a sign of measles. Madagascar is in the grip of a major outbreak of the disease, which has caused almost 1,000 deaths in under 6 months. Children are more likely to contract measles if they suffer from poor nutrition. At just 2 years old, Frangeline is a case in point.
It's a sign of malnutrition, 6.3 kilos at 2 years old. That's the weight you'd expect of a 3 or 4 month-old child.
Robertine is a farm worker and cannot afford a wide variety of food for her daughter.
We eat rice, always with the same broth. We give her food because she often asks for it, but it's always the same broth with rice, because we don't have enough money.
In the next bed is 60-year-old Volozafi. She had to cross a river as part of her search for healthcare for her young daughter.
Sometimes she couldn't pass because there were crocodiles with the rising water levels.
I had water up to here.
As well as access issues, health professionals have to overcome entrenched traditional beliefs.
You know zebu excrement? If you boil that, it can cure measles, so I don't think that's what it is. If she had measles, the bark of the laza tree could also have cured it.
The World Health Organization recommends a 90% vaccination rate. In Madagascar, the current rate is 58%.
We find it unacceptable that children are dying of measles. It's not normal. We have a vaccine.
5.6 million vaccinations are being distributed around the country as health authorities battle to contain an outbreak that has already infected over 80,000 people.
After more than 2 years of tension, Senegalese fishermen are once again allowed to fish in Mauritanian waters, following a new agreement signed by the two countries. The talks included the issuance of fishing licenses to beneficiaries and the launching of fishing activities. The agreement between Dakar and Nouakchott allows Senegalese fishing boats to fish in Mauritanian waters and Mauritanian fishing operators to rent Senegalese boats with their crews.
After years of uncertainty and tension, these Senegalese fishermen are free to roam once more. A scarcity of fish in their own territories forced them into fishing in the waters of their neighbour to the north, Mauritania. But now they can do so without fear of retribution.
Before, we were fishing illegally in Mauritanian waters. We were uneasy. We would run off whenever we saw the Coast Guard's flashlight. Thank God there's now a deal in place.
The situation was souring relations between the two countries. Senegalese fishermen often refused to be officially registered and were reluctant to land their catches in Mauritanian ports. Last year, one fisherman was even killed by Mauritanian coast guards. But now, 400 Senegalese fishing boats are licensed to operate offshore, subject to taxes and a quota of the catch that must be reserved for the local market.
The quantities will increase, everyone will benefit. The small traders who could only have 50 kilos of fish per day will have 100. The companies that were processing it will go from 1 to 2 or 3 tons. The state will benefit from it. Instead of 5 containers, companies will pay tax to export 10 containers. The benefits are wide-ranging.
The return of the Senegalese is expected to lead to lower prices in the local markets, as well as reviving the fishing industry in general, a sector that has not always been highly valued by Mauritanians.
There are 52 companies here in Nouakchott that weren't operating before. They were working at 10%, 20% of capacity. Now they will work at 80%, and they will increase employment.
For now, all parties seem to be happy with the deal, with many staking their livelihoods on it being in place for a long time to come.
Taxi-hailing app companies are becoming increasingly popular on the African continent. Kenyan company LittleCab plans to expand to Tanzania and Ghana by May this year. It hopes to raise around $50 million in capital from investors. LittleCab, which competes with Uber and Taxify, is valued at between $70 to $75 million as compared to its billion-dollar competitors.
Kamal Budhabati, the chief executive officer of LittleCab, says the company will commence operations in Tanzania as well as Accra by May. This will add to its operations in Kenya, Uganda and Zambia.
We are meeting a couple of investors both on the continent and in the Silicon Valley, and the interest is there. We are just trying to figure out, we are hoping that the investment should close in the course of mid of this year. That's what we are hoping.
Budhabati says that the taxi-hailing app is in its talks with investors to raise about $60 million. He added that this company intends to compete with its rivals by offering its drivers additional ways of earning an income.
Our drivers are agents. They can sell insurance for you, they can sell airtime, they can pay light water bills, they can do all those little things around that increases their income. So then if you are doing that, then you don't actually start fighting just on the price war that's happening at the moment.
Recently, Little launched a bus service in Nairobi on its platform on top of its taxi services. Through its motorcycle, also known as Boda Boda services, it hopes to delve into the delivery services industry.
I think the middle income consumer, middle and the above is what we feel that we are targeting. But you see, that's where also we come into the place, because we also have a product for Boda Boda, which is two-wheelers. And we also have a product for shuttle, which is like a mass transit platform. So if you look at it, for us consumer, because of the spread is bigger, any consumer who needs transport somewhere down the line fit in some of our products.
The 2.5-year-old company has 10,000 drivers operating in Nairobi and over 1 million users on its platform. 60% of the drivers are found in Kenya. Uber, which has been operating in the country for 4 years, has 6,000 active drivers.
Coming up after the break.
AFCON 2019, we tell you the teams that have made it to the biannual tournament.
We're about to pay some bills. Don't touch that dial. Keep it switched. Welcome back. In case you just joined us, you're watching Africa Focus. Today's sign language interpreter is Monica Mwangi. Now, 8 years ago, Muammar Gaddafi was toppled as the Libyan president. Since then, Libya has been embroiled in civil strife and conflict. Due to lack of security, most Libyans have had to move to more secure locations. However, in these past few months, some people are slowly returning to their homes. One such person is Moftar Mohammed, who owns and lives a house in the town of Al-Gawlawesh.
Al-Gawlawesh, perched on the slopes of Jebel Nefusa, 120 kilometers west of Tripoli, paid the price of his support of former dictator Muammar Gaddafi during a 2011 NATO-backed revolt in which he was captured and killed. Once home to close to 10,000 people, the town is a scene of desolation. Wind and dirt swept, burnt-out homes, destroyed schools and other public buildings, devoid of any public services. Fear of reprisals by neighboring communities, which had sided with victorious rebels, kept it a ghost town for the past 7.5 years.
We left our homes because of the aerial bombardment and because of the presence of army. We gathered our families and left on July 6, 2011.
In the face of often entrenched bitterness and a hunger for revenge, the United Nations mission in Libya has been working for reconciliation through the return of displaced communities to their pre-war homes. The way was cleared for a return to Al-Gawlawesh, with a reconciliation deal signed back in 2015 between representatives of the towns of Jebel Nefusa that came along with promises of financial aid. According to Mohammed, a victim of the revolt, the pledges have remained a dead letter due to inaction by successive government commissions. Another recent returnee, Mohammed Bukra, a man in his 70s who uses crutches, said he broke down when he saw his home and those of his 2 sons had been set ablaze.
At least, thanks to God, I have not lost any of my children or brothers.
The town's mayor, Said Ama, said residents were still waiting for compensation payments to repair their homes. Some families have no choice but to live in these burnt-out homes, not realizing the risk posed to their health and that of their children. The municipality says families have filed 1,600 compensation claims, but none of which have been settled.
Some people have been forced to live in their houses, and this is despite the fact that it might cause special and negative health problems.
According to the internationally recognized government of national accord, Libya's financial woes have blocked reconstruction in towns such as Al-Gawalesh. Youssef Jalala, the minister for the displaced in the Tripoli-based GNA, told the media that the government was working on a development plan that will see the financing for reconstruction.
The international community has on many occasions promised to contribute to the reconstruction of these towns, but we have not seen any of what was promised materialize on the ground. We call on the international community from this stage on to fulfill the promises made to help Libya.
According to latest figures published by the International Organization for Migration, Libya's displaced number is around 187,000 people. The Human Rights Watch has stated that most of its 48,000 inhabitants have still been unable to return home more than 7 years on. The institution is now calling on the government of national accord to urgently devise a strategy for Tawagan's safe return that will see reconstruction and security.
In 1922, Howard Carter, a British archaeologist, discovered King Tutankhamun's tomb. This event would change the course of art and history, bringing the long-forgotten 18th dynasty pharaoh back into the limelight. History lovers can now relive Tutankhamun's life after an exhibition opened last Saturday in Paris. Over 200,000 tickets have been sold for the event described as a once-in-a-generation exhibition.
At least 1 million people are expected to flock to a once-in-a-generation exhibition about the Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun, which opens in Paris this weekend. More than 150 treasures from the boy king's tomb, including 60 which have never left Egypt before, have been assembled for the blockbuster show.
For the first time, we have a treasure to touch and to see. That's why King Tut is now the most famous king. His name is known everywhere, and the king will live forever because people will just keep remembering the name Tutankhamun.
The Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities said this is the largest number of Tutankhamun artifacts ever to have left Cairo and may never happen again.
C'est une belle promotion pour l'Égypte.
It's a great promotion for Egypt. We are sending you 150 from Tutankhamun's collection, and we have 5,000 of them in Cairo, waiting for you and tourists from all over the world. Tutankhamun first came to France in 1967. It was a great success, with 1.2 million visitors. This is Tutankhamun's second return since. We hope it will be a very, very successful exhibition.
Très réussie.
Ticket sales for Tutankhamun Treasures of the Golden Pharaoh topped 130,000 last week as curators began the delicate task of installing the spectacular 3,400-year-old exhibits.
The concept is to take the visitors together with the king in this dangerous journey through the underworld, you know, to the afterlife, because this for the ancient Egyptians was not the end of life. Actually, it was the beginning of another life, an eternal life.
The Paris show at the giant Le Villette Art Complex opens by summoning up the Valley of the Kings near Lexo, where the necropolis was found, using huge video screens and tons of sand. Giant doors then open in the vast, dimly lit interior, where the treasures are displayed. the most dazzling being one of the life-sized gilded black guardian statues that stood on either sides of the king's burial chamber.
One of the most interesting objects is the so-called guardian. The guardian is an important piece here. It's one of a twin, and it is leaving Egypt for the first time. So people will be very interested in looking at the guardian and to see the magic in the face of the king.
Video displays show the excavations and explains the massive influence King Tut has made on art, fashion and popular culture, right down to pop star Beyonce, Egypt's influence concert. Organizers says they were expecting around 1.2 million people to pass through the doors in the next 6 months. Although organizers insisted that the content of the show are priceless, they have been insured for more than $800 million.
Following the last round of qualifying matches, all 24 teams participating in this year's Africa Cup of Nations have been confirmed. The teams include 7-time winner Egypt, who are also the hosts, defending champions Cameroon, and debutants Burundi, who will be among 4 teams representing the East Africa region. Let's take a look.
I hope to say delightful affair as Tanzania host you.
Heading into the 6th and final round of the African Cup of Nations qualifiers, 14 teams had already booked a place in the continental showpiece, with 10 slots up for grab. Tanzania thrashed rivals Uganda Cranes 3-0 at the National Stadium in Dar es Salaam to qualify for the first time in 39 years.
Tucked in behind all the players, still a shot comes in, deflected. Onyango is beaten, Tanzania.
Simon Msuva put Taifa Stars ahead in the 21st minute. Then versatile Simba SC defender Rasto Nyoni added a second from the spot after the break, with Agri Morris making it 3-0 to the hosts.
Agri Morris forward, they are running rampant.
Coached by former Nigeria winger Emmanuel Amunike, Tanzania will grace the biannual tournament for the first time since 1980. The other Group L match pitting Cape Verde and Lesotho ended in a goalless draw. For the first time in history, the East African region will be represented by 4 teams, namely Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda and Burundi, who qualified for the first time ever on Saturday. Led by Stoke City striker Saido Berahino, Burundi held Gabon to a 1-0 draw in Bujumbura as Aubameyang's Gabon crashed out.
Hier is het laatste fluitsignaal.
Less than a year after switching from England to Burundi, Berahino will be enjoying his maiden AFCON finals in June. Mali topped Group C.
Kila joueur alistalia kuanza, lakini wa 11 tu ndio wanapaswa kucheza. Sasa sisi wote tulisikilizana, tulisema wote wataanza, ana merite kuanza na atatosha 100%. Na njoo kisibili. Hakuna siri ni Mungu. Mungu atufikisha kwa
South Africa became the last team to qualify after a 2-1 win over Libya in Sfax, Tunisia.
Good work from Mohojo.
Even though a draw would have been enough to send them through, Percy Tau gave Bafana the lead in the 50th minute, but Ahmad Ben Ali converted a penalty in the 66th minute to make matters level. However, Tau completed his brace 3 minutes later to secure a crucial win for Stuart Baxter's Chargers.
Percy Tau 2, Libya 1. Absolutely brilliant.
On Friday, 22nd March, Nigeria confirmed their status as Group E winners with a 3-1 win over Seychelles at the Stephen Keshi Stadium in Asaba. Odion Igalo, Henry Onyekuru and Moses Simon were all on target for the Super Eagles. Going to the final match, Zimbabwe needed only a draw to secure their slot. However, the Warriors beat Congo 2-0 in Harare on Sunday to go top of Group G. The 2 goals were scored by Kaizer Chiefs midfielder Herman Billiard and Knowledge Musona. Democratic Republic of Congo edged out Liberia 1-0 in Kinshasa to finish second. Title holders Cameroon also qualified after defeating Comoros 3-0 in Yaoundé. Other teams that will grace the tournament include 7-time champions Egypt, Ivory Coast, Guinea, Angola, Namibia and Tunisia. Unlike previous tournaments, the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations slated for June will see 24 teams take part instead of the usual 16.
On Africa Focus, we love hearing from you, so make sure you get interactive with us on our various social media pages. Remember, you can view this program along with our wide array of other programs on DSTV channel 268. On behalf of the entire team here on Africa Focus, thank you for keeping us company on this exciting journey. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.